Hey, welcome back. This is King Trap, back at it again with another YouTube video. Today we're going to be going over the 4 opening principles you must know in order to succeed. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and turn on notifications because I create informative chess content designed to help better your play and increase your chess understanding. So with that, let's get started. So the first principle I want you to know in the openings of chess is that there's 4 squares, not pieces, but squares that are important. And they are these 4 right here. These central squares are more important than any move you could play on the first. There's nothing that you're going to play that will be so renowned that it will be more important than trying to control these 4 squares here in the middle. That's why you see e4 by white, d4 by white, and black often responds with, e5, or he'll play something like this, and then d5. You're always fighting for these squares. Either you want to occupy them with a piece that's defended, like in this scenario, or you want to have your pieces be attacking the center squares, such as the knight here. So that's the very first thing. Moves like moving the knight to the outside are bad moves because you're not controlling any of these central squares. Another bad move would be moving a pawn on the outside. There are lines and there are examples where this has had success, but as a generality, moves that control the center squares are the best. And so that's the first thing I want you to know from the opening. The second thing I want you to know is a concept about tempo. And tempo in chess is moving in a way that you're not losing time. So King Trap, what does that mean? Let me show you an example here. Let's say we get this structure on the board. And then let's say white decides to play something like this to consolidate in the middle, and black develops. And then for some reason, I don't know why, white decides to move his knight again. By moving this piece twice, he has stunted the development and not taken the time to develop other pieces. So as black continues to develop, we'll see black has 3 pieces out while white only has 1. He has stunted his own growth. And so this is a rule that can be broken. There's an opening called the Petrov that maybe involves moving a piece more than once, if not multiple times. But I don't recommend that, especially not for beginners. You have to know your theory before you get into lines like that. So, second principle, don't move the same piece twice as you'll lose tempo and time. The third principle I want to understand is a knowledge of how to develop correctly. And so the first thing I want to touch on in development is you want to develop knights before you develop bishops. And the reason being is knights, they're better at not breaking the second rule than bishops are. For example, in a structure like this, there's not really a move black can play that's going to make you move this piece. Whereas if you move your bishop out before you bring your knight out, black can play a move to make you break rule number 2 and have to move, retreat your bishop back. And so in this scenario, black gained a lot of time on white, and white's only compensation is a weak queen side. So black can't castle that way, but black's probably going to castle king side. So really the compensation here isn't all that great. Another thing I want to touch on is it's important to develop your minor pieces, meaning the knights and the bishops, before you develop your major pieces. Now again, this rule can be broken, and there are ways to be successful by breaking this rule. But as a general opening principle, in a scenario like this, where black brings out his queen, the most major piece on the board first, it allows white to attack him. And now, whether he retreats back or puts him in check, we'll see that white has developed 2 pieces and black only has 1 piece out. And black has broken the second rule, don't move a piece twice in the opening, because he brought it out too soon and he was able to get kicked away by this knight. And so, there are some good lines and there are some good theoretical games that have been played where it's okay to bring out pieces. major pieces before minor pieces. But as a general tip, and especially for beginning players, bring out your minor pieces before you bring out your major pieces. That way you can just avoid being chased around and losing time and breaking rules 1 and 2. Now, the last thing that I want you to know about the opening is castling. And castling is how you know that you've reached the end game. So in a perfectly symmetrical game, well, not perfectly symmetrical, but in a game like this, where you have a lot of repeats and a lot of going after the center and development of pieces, there you go, we'll go completely symmetrical. The ending of the opening occurs when both sides castle. So in this position here, the opening is done. We are now what's called the middle game. And my advice to you is, as soon as you feel like you've gotten most of your pieces developed, you know, moves like this coming and developing out here maybe, you're going to want to have castled, because you don't want pawns to start getting traded off and pieces getting traded off before your king is tucked away in the corner. If you leave your king in the center of the board and decide to start trading pieces like crazy and, you know, pushing this pawn and going after lots of crazy pawn breaks, you're going to put your king in a lot of danger. And so the last principle to end the opening and to get ready to move into the middle game is to castle. And I recommend castling kingside or queenside if you want. You know, there's strengths and weaknesses of doing both. But generally, as a new beginner, castling kingside is a little bit safer and a little bit easier game to play, in my opinion. You don't have to worry about a crazy pawn storm coming down the board if you castle queenside. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something. And I'll be coming out with another video that talks about the importance of the mid game and a couple tips and tricks that you can do to dominate in the mid game, because the mid game is where pure chess occurs, according to Magnus Carlsen. And this is where you're going to be doing lots of calculations, looking for tactics, looking to win pieces, pawns, etc. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.